Hey guys, let's talk a little bit about UFOs, the paranormal, and belief. So get in here. This is Jack with Cosmic Road. I'll talk about UFOs and the paranormal. Please hit like and subscribe and let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Okay, I'll go over a few threads here and then I'll give you my thoughts because I think the nature of our interaction with the phenomenon is very important. There's a lot of talk about psionics lately, about using consciousness to summon UFOs and interact with UFOs, and not just the UFO phenomenon, but the greater phenomenon as well. Stephen Greer talks about cosmic beings and has photos and videos of beings, these other dimensional entities that will appear, and others do as well. In fact, I know somebody personally that at a CE5 that I presided over nominally. He and others were interacting with other dimensional beings, and this was during a meditation session. So, what does our consciousness have to do with our ability to interact with the phenomenon? Does belief hold any part in that? Because I showed a clip a few weeks ago from Whitley Strieber and Jesse Michaels, where they were talking about the connection to belief and experience. And it seemed like from their conversation that there was evidence to suggest that in many cases, belief came before the experience. That's been my experience. That's been my lived experience, and I think there's probably a lot of other people out there in that same boat. So let's go over a few things. This is talking about some of Jacques Vallée's old research. This is from Hollywood. The fairies, took people, erased memories, and manipulated time. Sound familiar? Before UFO abductions, before NHI encounters, there were the Fae. In Irish folklore, the AOC were powerful otherworldly beings who appeared and vanished at will, distorted time. People would return years later unchanged. They took humans into their world only to erase memories of the visit, communicated through visions and telepathy. Jacques Vallée suggests they never left, only changed names. However strong the current belief in saucers from space, it cannot be stronger than the Celtic faith in the elves and the fairies. Our modern NHI, just the Fae, rebranded for the 21st century. Yeah, that's one of Jacques Vallée's most famous theories, is the idea that the phenomenon has evolved over time, or we or our understanding and interactions with the phenomenon have evolved over time, and it represents itself in ways that we can understand based on our current level of understanding. The airships in the 1800s, people were able to relate to hot air balloons at that time. So they saw fantastic airships, and the beings in them were saying they were from another planet. Fascinating stuff. So, what does that mean? Does it have anything to do with belief? People's believed in fairies and stuff like that, and so they saw fairies. They knew, or they believed in hot air balloons, so they saw hot air balloons. Now later they believed in planes and nuts and bolts vehicles that were in the sky, so that's what they saw. Does that mean there's not nuts and bolts vehicles in the sky? No, of course that's not what it means, but it's certainly interesting, right? And it could mean that a lot of what we're seeing in the skies and in our oceans and everywhere is has more to do with the phenomenon representing itself to us in ways that we can understand. John Keel believed that there was a field, an energetic field or something. Then our consciousness was interacting with it. And a lot of what we were seeing was projections from that field of our own consciousness and our ability to understand. So, what does that mean? What does that mean? George St. Pierre, George Georges St. Pierre, I totally said that right, guys, says that many scientists believe that consciousness arises from material processes. But what if we're wrong? What if consciousness is at the base of everything? And I think that's probably the case. That's what a lot of people have been discovering lately. David Haith has this breakdown of a podcast from Matt Ford from the Good Trouble Show. where he says Matt Ford is questioning whether the cover up, the UFO cover up, is to stop the hitchhiker effect, panicking millions who hear about disclosure and get stalked by poltergeist type phenomena. He is wondering this because a couple of days after confirming with Senate staffers the reality of UAPs, paranormal events began happening in his house. He said it started with a baby gate getting pushed over in the kitchen. We woke up at 6 a.m. thinking someone was breaking into the house. We looked at the security camera and it looked like somebody literally had just pushed the thing over with their finger. A few days later, he and his spouse saw a car-sized orb of light appear over their house, which came back monthly. And for months, there was banging on the walls and mystery voices. Matt said, so the question I had was my whole adult life, I had never had any of this occur, nothing. And then all of a sudden, I have this conversation with the senator's staff, and then poof, it turns on. Let's just say that the reason it began manifesting in my home and above my home was because I had an awareness. I was told by congressional officials that this was real. If that plays into it, if the president gets in front of the podium and says to the entire nation, this is real, does that mean that this could possibly start manifesting above the homes of millions of Americans? And that's what I've said from the beginning is that it's very important how we disclose. We do need UFO disclosure, but to frame it in terms of national security is going to be a bad thing. That's going to lead to people having negative experiences with the phenomenon and the greater phenomenon because it does kind of meet you where you're at. If you're in a fearful mindset, etc., you may get those experiences. Now, some people, do go seek out the phenomenon, like myself, after my research. Sometimes the phenomenon will just knock on your door. You don't have to seek it out. Sometimes it doesn't even use the door. But yeah, Matt only started having his own experiences when he believed in it. That's what Whitley Strieber and Jesse Michaels were talking about. That's what I've talked about before. That has been my own experience. Fortunately, I came across the good stuff first and not the scary stuff. And that's where my mind was at. That's where my mind was at. That's what I resonated with. That's what I experienced. Generally speaking, now when I first got into the spiritual, metaphysical consciousness, paranormal side of things, I would only believe it if I experienced it myself. And so I co-founded a ghost hunting team, and we went out ghost hunting, and we had some ghosty experiences. Now, at the time, I was an atheist. I didn't believe in any of this crazy nonsense as I thought of it. And I thought that the paranormal stuff, after I had researched it and verified that it was real, according to my research, it seemed like there was some there, but I had to experience it myself. But I was thinking that studying it in person would be a backdoor to studying UFOs because I thought, well, there's no spirituality, there's no ghosts. This has got to be alien technology, some sort of artifacts or repercussions of alien technology. And if you go ghost hunting, you're actually going alien hunting. But then I had ghosty experiences, and I went on Google and I just typed in, do we have souls? I wasn't expecting anything to pop up, but near-death experiences popped up. So I did a deep dive into near-death experiences. And today I've absorbed thousands of near-death experiences, about the same number as I've absorbed of alien or NHI abductions and experiences. And there's an interesting crossover between near-death experiences and alien abductions that I've talked about many times before. According to the Edgar Mitchell Foundation, nearly 1/3 of all alien abductees are near-death experiencers, which is an interesting crossover, right? And there's so many other crossovers as well. The Las Vegas family, they had aliens in their backyard one moment, they've got a haunted house the next. That's what Matt Ford is talking about. And yeah, so some of my early experiences were ghosty. But when I began having my own experiences, I was in this mental headspace of near-death experiences and then Reiki. And I was in this good mental space when I began having my own experiences. And yeah, they were beautiful, transcendent experiences for the most part. And that's what I hope people interact with, is the good stuff. But in order, I think, to interact with that stuff, you have to be aware of it. You have to hear people talk about it. You have to see the research. You have to believe in it to some capacity. And I think that what Matt Ford experienced, he was talking to the Pentagon guys. He was talking to about the spooky, scary stuff. And so he had spooky, scary experiences. And I think that is really unfortunate because there is a spooky, scary side to all of this stuff, just as there's a spooky, scary side to our own consciousnesses. And, we live in a very complicated ecosystem that we can only perceive a small part of it. And it seems like in many cases, what you resonate with, what you gravitate to, is what you get. Not in all cases. As I said, sometimes the phenomenon just knocks on your door. Doesn't matter what you believe. And, again, sometimes it doesn't even use the door. But in many, many cases, it seems like what we believe is what we get. So I encourage everybody to research the light stuff, the good stuff, the love stuff, near death experiences, energy, chi, all of that, mystical new age stuff that I would have laughed at a few years ago. Well, it's real and you can interact with it, but you can also interact with the negative stuff. And I don't recommend that. I've had some brief interactions with the negative stuff and I don't recommend it. It wasn't a lot of fun. But that stuff is out there. And there are people that do gravitate to it. Now, one of my ghost hunting buddies, he wanted to summon an entity. And I thought, okay, well, I don't know about summon, but yeah, we could invite like our higher selves or our guides or, star family, whatever. Sure, we could invite an angel in. And he said, no, I want to summon a demon. I was like, no, I'm not going to be part of that. You go summon a demon. That's, whatever. But he was really obsessed with, exorcisms and the demonic. He was really obsessed with demons and he wanted to summon a freaking demon. I didn't want any part of that, but he gravitated to the dark stuff. And there are people out there like that. There are shamans out there that are fully capable of accessing the light stuff, but instead they go dark and they are bad shamans. And you have to be careful if you go on an ayahuasca retreat or some other experience where there are shamans. Do your research, go to a good one. There's plenty of good ones out there, but again, do your research. I'm always surprised that there are people that gravitate to the negative and the dark, but there are. And maybe that's part of their journey. I don't know. I would like to think they could be guided into having better experiences and resonating with higher frequencies, to use a new agey term. But yeah, the good stuff is out there, light and love. I have interacted with it. I've had amazing interactions with it. I recommend that stuff if you're looking for contact experiences, if you're looking to understand the phenomenon better, or even understand yourselves more. But this stuff needs to get in front of people. People need to see it so that they can understand it's real, or at least open their minds to it enough for them to interact with it. Again, when they start resonating with this stuff and when they are open for contact. My own experiences, belief, or at least opening my mind to things, came before the actual experience. And I think that's going to be the case for many people. I like to give an example. My mom lived out in the country and she lived in a haunted house. She never mentioned it. She never mentioned it. She was out there for 20 years. And I was out there many times. Heck, one time my wife and I were moving, and when we were between houses, we stayed at my mom's house for a few weeks. Never had any experiences. And of course, she never mentioned it. It was only after I started having my own experiences and when my research had led me into the likelihood of paranormal stuff being a reality, whatever it was, that I heard a huge bang on the wall of my mom's house the next time I was out there. I was in the guest room and there was this loud bang on the wall. I was like, what's that? Is that like a deer slamming up against the house? So the next day I went out there and took a look at, I expected there to be deer hoof prints, but there was nothing. It was a ghost. It wasn't the house settling. It was way too loud for that. And so I asked my mom about it. I said, I heard a big bang on the side of the house. There weren't any deer. What gives? And she said, oh, yeah, the house is haunted. And I'm like, what? And yeah, so, but because I was now open to it, the phenomenon was revealing itself to me. I could have heard a bang on the wall all those 20 years. I would have dismissed it. I would have rationalized it again as the house settling, or maybe I just didn't find the hoof prints or something, right? I would have come up with some justification for it. No, but I still would have heard the bang if there had been a bang. There was no bang. The phenomenon only revealed itself to me when I knew that that stuff was real. So yeah, I mean, it's fascinating how all of this works. I wish I stood it all. And my journey for understanding continues. If you figure it out, let me know. But yeah, so let me know what you think about all of this. How our consciousness interacts with the phenomenon, how our ability to believe in things, affects our ability to see and experience it. Let me know what you guys think about it all in the comments below. Like and subscribe. Smash the bell to be notified of future videos. You don't want to miss a thing. Join me on social media. Facebook, Twitter, Discord, Rumble, links below. Buy my newest book. I'm a novelist. I write science fiction, fantasy books. Go check it out. Jack Connor, The Bounty, which is written in tiny little letters here. That's the name of the book. But it's book one of Cosmic Road. So yeah, go check it out. Links below. Love you guys. Yeah, become a channel subscriber or a member. Channel members are rock stars. I remembered. And there's plenty of other videos on the channel. And I'll see you guys next time. This is Jack with Cosmic Road signing out.